Welcome to the World Economic Forum 2026 and to this session, Defining Eurasia's Economic Identity. With competing interests from the west to the east and the balance of influence and power in the Caucasus and Central Asia is being redrawn as we speak. Ambitious infrastructure plans and emerging trade corridors intersect with heightened competition over resources. How can the region make the most of these expanding routes and strengthen its role within them? This is what we're going to discuss today at the session, and it is my greatest honor to introduce the speakers of this session. Ilham Aliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan; Aleksandar Vučić, President of Serbia; Ebru Özdemir, Chairperson of the Board, Limak Holding, Turkey, Community of Chairpersons. Thank you for being here. And Vagan Khachaturian, President of the Republic of Armenia. My name is Sasha Vakulina. I'm Euronews EU correspondent. It's my great honor to be moderating this session at WEF today and to be with you. I'm going to be starting slowly, and I'm going to just go into the beginning of this session, if I may, to open it and, to get into it. Azerbaijan and Armenia worked out a historic peace deal after decades of tragedies, changing the course and the future for the two countries, but also for the whole region, just as we now witnessed the fast-changing global order. Given how much effort it has taken to close the painful chapter, I would like to ask President Aliyev and President Khachaturian, how do you look in the future now? What does the future hold now? Both of you being here together at this session is already a great message in itself.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It was a historical achievement last August when two countries initialed peace agreement, thus putting end to 3 decades plus of war and bloodshed. The uniqueness of this peace deal is that it was signed less than in 2 years after the last bloody clash. So it demonstrates that if you have a strong political will from both sides and commitment to peace, then you can reconcile in a relatively short period of time. What has been signed today is transforming into the practical results. Not only we live in peace for 5-6 months only, and we enjoy this situation. Neither Armenia nor Azerbaijan, as independent countries, ever lived in peace. When we became independent in 1991, we were already at military standoff. But today, the benefits of peace are reflected into beginning of cooperation. First, cargo from Azerbaijan of critical products, oil products, are being transported to Armenia, and in itself, it brings the prices down. So it was absolutely unimaginable maybe 2 or 3 years before, but today it is a reality. And I think nothing can interfere into this process. What we need to do more, I think both sides, is to demonstrate the results of living in peace so that we can also witness the full support of our societies to this process. But I am very optimistic because really what has been achieved is a tremendous benefit to Armenia, to Azerbaijan, to Southern Caucasus, and it sets an example of how the countries which were in very deep hostile terms now transform into phase of cooperation.
Said he fully agrees with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev's statement that the future depends on us, noting that the leaders of the two countries are demonstrating their political will with determination.
Cənab Prezident İlham Aliyev söylədi ki, biz də siyasi qətiyyəti sülh üçün nümayiş etdirdik ki, artıq bundan sonra əməli tədbirlər sülhü sübut etsin, təsdiq etsin ki, 30 ildir bunun biz görməmişdik, amma indi isə biz sülh və əmin-amanlıq şəraitində yaşayırıq. Bu isə həqiqətən də inanılmaz bir hadisədir.
Recalling that goods are already transported from Azerbaijan to Armenia via the territory of Georgia, Vahagan Khachaturian expressed confidence that these cargoes would pass directly through the territories of the two countries.
Cənab İlham Aliyevə də minnətdaram, təqdir edirik görülən işləri. Bugün və yaxud dünən isə səhv etmirəmsə, Prezident Aliyev qeyd etdi ki, biz gərək sülh və əmin-amanlıq şəraitində yaşamağı öyrənməliyik. İnandırım ki, bu bizim üçün adi bir vəziyyət deyil, çünki buna öyrəşməmişdi bu sənədlər imzalanmamışdan əvvəl. Hər gün oyanıb, sərhəddə görəsən nələr baş verib, atışmalar davam edirmi? Bu bizim üçün hər zaman stresli. İndi isə sizi mən bir də əmin etmək istərdim ki, biz bu keçmişimizi unuduq, artıq biz gərək konkret layihələri həyata keçirik. Biz uğur qazanacağıq, biz inanırıq. Bizim sazişlərimiz çox konkret prinsiplərə əsaslanıb. Bəli, biz bir-birimizin ölkə olaraq ərazi bütövlüyünə, suverenitetinə və yurisdiksiyalarına hörmət edirik. Bunlar rəhbər prinsiplərdir. Bəli, sərhədlərimiz bir gün açılacaq və bir neçə ildən sonra sadəcə siyasi iradə, yəni bu səviyyədə deyil, eləcə də adi sıravi işgüzar səfərlər olacaqdır. Sıravi vətəndaşlarımız sərhədləri rahat keçərək münasibətlər quracaqdır. Biz bu fürsətlərdən faydalanacağıq və bu əməkdaşlığın nəticəsində də biz çox əlverişli bir Cənubi Qafqazda regiona çevriləcək bütün dünya üçün. Azərbaycan rəhbərinə, cənab Prezident Əliyevə təşəkkür edirəm. Və bizim baş nazirimizə də təşəkkürümü bildirməliyəm. Çünki bizim dövlət rəhbərimiz baş nazirdir. Ona görə də hər iki rəhbərə nümayiş etdirdiyi siyasi iradəyə görə minnətdaram.
Khachaturian emphasized, noting that there is one goal here, and that is peace. Peace will come.
Üzr istəyirəm, bir daha təkrar edim ki, məsələ hakimiyyətdə qalmaq deyil, sülhə nail olmaqdır. Çünki illər boyunca müəyyən siyasi səbəblər ucbatından sülh prosesi yubanırdı, ancaq danışıqlar davam edir, heç bir ortalıqda nəticə yox. Elə oldu ki, artıq iki ölkə rəhbəri ümumi rəhbər prinsiplər üzərində razılığa gəldi.
Answering a question about which strategies could enhance competitiveness in terms of attracting investment, Chairperson of the Board of Limak Holding Ebru Özdemir said that investment is made in any country only when there is long-term stability, peace and tranquility.
Stabillik olmadıqda heç kəs investisiya etməyəcəkdir. Burada liderlər iştirakını nəzərə alırıq ki, mən çox şadam ki, onların sırasındayım. Sülh və əmin-amanlıq uzun müddətli olması investorların gələcəyinə dəlalətdir. TRIP sazişini də oxumuşam. Kifayət qədər təsbit edilmiş prinsipləri var.
Adding to Özdemir's remarks, President Alexander Vučić said that today peace and stability are more important than ever. He expressed regret that certain principles are not being observed in the modern world. No one respects the principles of multilateralism, that this is a major mistake and a repetition of past errors.
And I would like to address that to President Aliyev, please. What's your take? How do you then see this solution as President, which is just said, regarding how do you survive and how do you try to soften the stress of the current shocks in the world where the current shape and phase of multilateralism is not just changing, but it's not working that well?
I think that everything is in our hands. It depends on your agenda. It depends on your vision, on your strategic vision for the future. Coming back to peace with Armenia, and prior to that, 30 years of conflict, we really had a very difficult times as a country, as a nation, losing territories, million people homeless and internally displaced. But we did not lose hope. We did not lose our courage to try to restore justice, international law, and our sovereignty. It took us 30 years. International institutions at that time, I mean 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago and now, their behavior didn't change. We have changed. We stopped believing in someone who will come and fix things for us. All our hopes for international mediation totally collapsed. United Nations Security Council, the highest international body, adopted 4 resolutions demanding withdrawal of Armenian troops from our territory. They were on paper. OSCE and other international institutions adopted numerous resolutions. All of them did not materialize until we took situation into our hands. And we did it. We restored justice, international law, our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and then we achieved peace. And then we stopped. And for a leader of the country which suffered for 30 years to stop at the right time is a very responsible and very important decision. We could have continued. I want to be very open with you and with the audience, but that would lead to endless wars. That would lead to more sufferings, more victims. Then war would never end, and someone should have stopped it. And we decided to stop it. And yes, it was a joint decision by Armenian and Azerbaijani leadership to close that chapter and to see the opportunities for peace. And we, as I said, I think with a record speed from war, from serious military clash of September 2023, we came to August 2025, when Prime Minister of Armenia and myself signed the declaration, and the peace deal was initialed in front of President Trump. And President Trump signed the declaration as a witness. And as I said, we put an end to this war in the office #1 of the world. We should not rely on international institutions. I agree with Alexander that today this situation maybe is more severe than ever before. But I do not share his certain pessimism, because if you take situation under control, if you are dedicated to your national interests and to the future of the nation you are leading, then you can achieve success. But with respect to the issues of multilateralism, unilateralism, protectionism, we see that everything is crumbling. Mm-hmm. World Trade Organization is crumbling. By the way, Azerbaijan did not join WTO, though we've been invited for 30 years, just because we want to have economic sovereignty. We want to have political sovereignty, at the same time having good relations with numerous interlocutors. Look, we have strategic partnership documents signed with 10 members of European Union, comprehensive strategic partnership agreement signed with China, strategic partnership charter is being discussed with the United States, and all this is possible. It does not contradict one another when you have a clear vision for your country, for your future, when you have power, when you have consolidated society, and when you do what is right, regardless who says what and who will publish some articles about you and what you are doing. So I'm more optimistic, especially in our case with Armenia. Probably it's one of the unique cases when we have real peace after 3 decades of war and bloodshed.
Answering a question from the moderator, President of the Republic of Armenia Vahagan Khachaturian stated that the war would have continued had the political leadership of Armenia and Azerbaijan not reached a fundamental agreement.
Əksi təqdirdə cənab prezident İlham Aliyevlə razıyam ki, bu müharibə davam edəsiydi, uzun uzadı davam edəsiydi. Yəni heç bir gələcək vəd etməyən bir hadisə olasıydı. Amma ona görə də mən heç bir vəçlə müharibə insan itkilərinə gətirib çıxaran heç bir siyasi yanaşmanı qəbul etmirəm.
The Armenian president noted that representatives of the civil societies of both countries have already met, and in the near future, business communities and entrepreneurs will also convene.
Mən bu məsələdə nikbinəm ki, biz uğur qazanacağıq. Artıq Ermənistanda da insanlar avtomobillərini Azərbaycan benzinini doldururlar. Əvvəllər bu məsələyə baxıb düşmənçilik mövqeyi sərgilənirdi, amma bu yeni reallıqlardır.
Chairperson of the board of Limak holding Ebru Özdemir discussed the regional processes, noting that very positive developments are taking place between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Türkiyədə bu mənada akselerator rolunu oynayacaq. Yəni vasitəçi rolunu oynayacaq. Yəni bizim sərhədlər açılacaq. Bəli, Azərbaycan bizim qardaş, dost ölkəmizdir. Gürcüstanı da qeyd etməliyik. Bu paneldə də biz daha çox regional investisiyalara təşəbbüs etməliyik. Nələri əvvəllər etməmişik, nələri hazırda həyata keçirməliyik, nələr daha çox görülə bilər. Sülh stabilliyi varsa, niyə də investisiya gəlməsin?
It's a very interesting dynamic as the Eurasian region and as the countries that you're representing here, strengthening the cooperation between each other for the region, as you said. The global geopolitical sort of picture in the landscape looks completely different. There is not strengthening, there's rather cracking and shaking. And I would like to get that as a closing remarks for all of you speakers, please. How do you see with this challenging and shaking and rather fragile global landscape, how do you see then the place of Eurasia in that picture? President Aliyev.
Well, Eurasia is a very big geographical environment. What we're thinking about is, of course, our region and our immediate neighborhood. And I'm very glad that during the years of independence, we managed to establish very close working relations with all our neighbors, of course, except Armenia due to the reasons we all know. But now, after peace de facto is established, we started also economic cooperation, export operations. Azerbaijan lifted all the restrictions on transportation of cargos to Armenia from Kazakhstan, from Russia. And now we got a request from Armenian side to provide transit from Armenia to Russia. So we de facto unilaterally opened the corridors. Yes, the transportation goes through Georgia, but one day it will go through Armenia. One day Armenia will go directly through Azerbaijan, and that day is not too far away. We established a very close alliance relationship with Turkey, which is a brotherly country, and we have a huge investments in Turkey. Our investments in Turkey are more than 20 billion US dollars. We are one of the biggest investors in Georgia. With a trip and the connectivity project which United States now is supervising, we will establish a new transportation corridor stretching from Asia across the Caspian through Azerbaijan, Armenia, part of Azerbaijan which is Nakhchivan, Turkey, and further down to Europe, in addition to the existing corridor through Georgia. So the more routes, the better for consumers, for suppliers, for transit countries. So we as a country, we always concentrate on our regional agenda. And if we cannot achieve what we want in the region, we cannot have any aspirations for any kind of a global event. But today, especially after parallel tracks of Armenian-Azerbaijan and Turkish-Armenian rapprochement, which go in parallel and definitely will end in parallel by establishment of diplomatic relations between Turkey and Armenia, Azerbaijan and Armenia at the same time, we are changing the broad geographical area, part of Eurasia, which is very important for connectivity, for energy security, for peace, for stability, and which sets the example of how long-lasting wars and conflicts can transform into partnership and cooperation.
President of the Republic of Armenia Vahagan Khachaturian then remarked that it is, in fact, quite difficult to speak following President Ilham Aliyev.
Çünkü prezidentin söylədiklərini təkrar etməliyəm. Prezident İlham Aliyevin söylediği fikirlər bizim fikirlərimizlə, prinsiplərimizlə üst-üstə düşür. Yəni, yaşadığımız dünyada istər orta dəhliz marşrut olsun, Cənubi Qafqazın yeni logistika imkanları getdikcə daha çox mühüm əhəmiyyət kəsb etməyə başlayır. Odur ki, bizim regionumuzun əhəmiyyəti də istər Avropa İttifaqı, Avropa ölkələri üçün ayrı-ayrılıq dərəcədəki uzaq şərqdə də getdikcə əhəmiyyəti artmaqdadır.
I am very happy for my friends in the South Caucasus. said President of the Republic of Serbia Aleksandar Vučić as he spoke about Azerbaijan's investments in Serbia. He also noted that direct flights are planned between Belgrade and Baku, as well as Tbilisi, and that similar direct flights could also be organized with Armenia.
Ermənistanla da əminəm ki, belə bir birbaşa uçuşlar təşkil ediləcək. Beləliklə də biz gələcəkdə qərblə yanaşı şərqə də doğru əməkdaşlığımızı genişləndirəcək, dostlarımızla münasibətlərimizi gücləndirəcək. Yəni, Cənab Prezidentin İlham Aliyevin söylədiyi fikrə bağlı bir mövqe var. Həqiqətən də çox ən mükəmməl liderlərdən biridir. Bunun təsir effekti də var. Təsir effekti danılmamalıdır. Bəli, müasir Azərbaycanı görür.
At the conclusion of his speech, Aleksandar Vučić emphasized his hope that, through the support of kind and friendly nations such as Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Armenia, Serbia will be able to overcome its challenges.